You're speaking about economic profit. At this time in India, there's a huge call for boycotting made in China products, to pivot towards make in India and boycott all make in China products. What do you make of this Indian call, which in a different sense is also finding an echo globally, where a lot of companies are now attempting to move part of their global supply chains, which are largely driven out of China, and move part of them now to other countries?
Now, I've said this before, now there can be government regulations with import-export license, with different kinds of taxes. You can control any kind of business from any country. People also has a role to play, whether you want to buy certain products or not. But people, how much ever, they will buy things that they can afford to, right? But, I've been saying, the celebrities, when they endorse any brand, including Chinese brand, they're doing it for money. They're not doing it because it's cheap. They're doing it for money. And you can start from there, So what I'm trying to say is, doing business with any country, including China, it's a fact. But when you do business, you must make money from doing business with China, not other way around. The trade deficit is, disproportionately against India. That's not the way to go. That's what I'm trying to say.
Would you support a call for boycotting Chinese goods?
As I said, if tension is very high, then it is for the individual Indian citizens to decide whether your national security or the security of Jawan is more important, or your entertainment and pleasure over Chinese software or Chinese hardware. That's how you should decide, right? But you can start with celebrities, not endorsing products. So that's what I endorse, because they're doing simply it for money.
So that's an important call that you're making, asking for Indian celebrities who are possibly watching this interview to stop endorsing Chinese products. Have you had an opportunity, Dr. Sangay, to have a word with His Holiness the Dalai Lama? What is the Dalai Lama making of the current face-off between India and China?
His Holiness Dalai Lama is a great spiritual leader. He is the greatest Dalai Lamas of all the Lamas. But in 2011, he has made it very clear that he is going to renounce his political responsibilities and hand it over to a democratically elected leader. That happens to be me. So since 2011, I've been handling all the political and administrative matters, and His Holiness Dalai Lama is our most revered spiritual leader. So, I speak on his behalf, and behalf of all the Tibetan people on political matters. Now, His Holiness is 85 years old. He will be celebrating his 85th birthday soon, and he deserves his time, he deserves his rest, and he is, I know, loved by millions of followers around the world, including in India. And he has been on the record, he has been the biggest or the greatest ambassador of India, advocating Nalanda tradition all over the world. And he had called himself the son of India, because his body is made, made of dal and bhat of India, and his brain is of Nalanda tradition. So whenever there is a pain in India, His Holiness feels more than others.
I'm curious to know, what's your view on being the political successor to the Dalai Lama? While that is what His Holiness wants, what is the guarantee that China will not, like they did in the case of the Pancham Lama, come up with their own appointee and say, it will not be Lobsang Sangay, it will be XYZ, who we think the people of Tibet, and I'm sure they can prop some candidate up and announce him as the leader of the government of Tibet?
It's not me, Lobsang Sangay, it's my office will succeed the political responsibilities of the Tibetan movement and Tibetan administration. Now, as far as Chinese government is concerned, they already have, Tibetan officials in name, in token or symbolic position to be the head of Tibet Autonomous Region, and so on and so forth. But the credibility is not there, and most importantly, they don't have power. The Communist Party's secretary, General Secretary of the Communist Party, is the most powerful person in Beijing as well as in Lhasa, and he is always Chinese, right? So, and then the security apparatus, judicial apparatus, police apparatus, political apparatus, all are majority Chinese. So that much of distrust that they have, even to token presence of Tibetan officials in Lhasa. So they have already propped up, people saying they represent Tibetan people. Tibetans in Tibet, they don't agree with them, and obviously we don't agree with them, and they don't reflect the aspirations and representation of Tibetans in Tibet. That's why, as I said, if Chinese government is truly confident, then they can have referendum, and hands down a Tibetan person will win that vote.